Welcome to Lever Up Your Life. I'm Nate Barger. I went from prison time and bankruptcy to now owning over $200 million in real estate. I want to show you guys all the mistakes I made so you don't make the same mistakes. It's time you create massive wealth for yourself. What's going on today, guys? How you doing, man? I am here with my good friend, Patel.
Nate, how are you, man? Glad to be here.
Man, I'm so glad to have you, man. I remember the last time you were interviewing me. Now I'm going to interview you.
Always a good time.
So, hey, man, I just want to jump in. Let's start from when you were a kid, man, how you were raised up, where you were raised up. I know you're a Jersey kid.
Yeah, born and raised in Jersey, had the typical first-generation Asian immigrant upbringing, which means we weren't allowed to do anything.
You weren't allowed to lever up your life?
Man, all we had to do was study, and that's about it.
So you were one of the, kind of like stereotype, right?
100%.
Immigrant, where the family says, hey, you're going to really do good in school, and then what's next?
Well, I didn't do good in school, so I always went against the grain. So I was the hellraiser in the family. Went to college, but even in college, man, that Asian immigrant mentality, they told me I had to go into IT like my brother. I hated IT, right? Hated computers.
Yep.
Wanted to go into marketing. So I did that, and I graduated with an IT degree and ended up with a 15-year career in IT. It was great. I did well, but I knew that I wasn't going to do that forever. More importantly, I knew I wasn't going to work for somebody forever. So from the first year that I got out on my own, in the W-2 world after college, started doing side hustles. Yep. So I just wanted one of these side hustles to take off, and I could quit my job and not have to worry about working for somebody.
And how old were you? So you got out of college, you were 22.
22. I had 1 year making $25,000, and I thought I was Donald Trump, man.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, this was back in 99, whatever it was. Right?
Now that was W-2?
Yeah.
So you made 25 grand W-2.
As an IT guy, which was actually low, but it was a great company, great experience. So I was willing to take the hit for that experience. And again, making 25 grand with no expenses, thought I was Donald Trump, man. Thought I made it, right?
So did you go get a gold toilet?
No, man. I bought I could afford whatever I wanted to buy, which wasn't much. My futon paid cash. But so 1 year out of college, lived it up a little bit, had fun, and then started the side hustles. First one was a web design company. And this was back in the day where not everyone had a website, and not everyone was using their computer. We didn't have smartphones back then, right? Not everyone had cell phones, matter of fact. So started making websites for people, and interesting story. I'm going to back up a little bit. So I wanted a side hustle so bad, and I'm like, what can I do? And I thought, I'm an IT guy, so like maybe I should do something in IT. I'll make websites. So I didn't know how to make websites. I'd go to the library, get a bunch of books, and I made websites, but they looked like they were homemade by a kid in his basement, which they essentially were, right? I have no artistic talent.
Yeah, okay, but what made you? Because a lot of people say, hey, man, I got a W-2 job, man, went to college. This is what my parents told me I should do. This is what society told me I should do. But there was something deeper inside of you that was driving you.
Growing up, Nate, that immigrant upbringing, you saw a lot of business owners. I'm an Indian guy, so you saw the Indians migrate to convenience stores, hotels, gas stations. And then I saw my parents that were W-2 people their whole life, paycheck to paycheck growing up. And, I just saw the difference in lifestyle. So
at a young age, you saw that.
I did.
And you wanted to lever up, but people were telling you, hey, man, that ain't the way.
A vivid conversation I remember was I was talking to a guy who had a couple businesses and did very well. And he asked me what I want to do when I grow up. And I said, man, I want to own a business like you. He said, no. He's like, you go the corporate route. He's like, we were discriminated against back in the 70s when we came here. We couldn't go to college, get the job, and move up the corporate ladder. It's a different time now. So he said, you and your brothers, you go the corporate route, go to college, move up the corporate ladder.
Wow.
So I had mixed signals, right?
Mhm.
I didn't know what the right thing to do was. But I was still enamored by that lifestyle where you don't have to report to somebody, just
Mhm.
the freedom,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I think, like a lot of young people, I assumed it'd be sitting on an island, doing whatever the hell you want to do, and life would be easy, right? It's not until 20 years later I realized I don't want life to be easy. I want life to be challenging and fun,
Yep. Yep.
full of accomplishments, right?
And that goes to something, man. One of my favorite sayings, right? So you were what, a D student, C student?
Um, Anything that I liked, I would get A's and B's.
Yep.
Things that I didn't, I wouldn't pay attention and get C's and D's.
Well, they said one of my favorite sayings, man, is the A students work for the B students, the C students run the company, and the D students dedicate the building.
Yep.
Right. So, I mean, I think the D's come from exactly what you just said. You're not stimulating my mind. I'm bored.
Yes.
It's not that I can't do it. I'm bored. And the A students are really disciplined, and they make really good employees, right? A lot of times.
100%.
So, I'm not talking bad about, A students. My sister was an A student, but me, like many entrepreneurs, man, a D student, man. I mean, when I figured that a D got me the same diploma as an A, I was like, I don't want to, I mean, it's like, hey, if you work this hard, you're going to make this much money. But if you work this hard, you're still going to make this much.
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
get the same paycheck as the guy next to you who's not working.
yeah, minimum effort, maximum results.
Yeah.
So same thing, transfer it over to real estate.
Yeah.
So you figured it out.
Well, man, it was a struggle. So this web design company.
Can we see your first website, man? That would be interesting to see. The one you said that looked amateurs.
I still have it.
Do you have a picture of that?
No, not the one that I made. It was not good enough to go anywhere. Right? But so I realized I don't have the ability to make websites. So I found somebody who does that as with their full-time job. He's a graphic designer. So
You found an A student.
I found an artistic person.
Got it.
Probably wasn't an A student. So I went out and sold websites, and this person who became my partner would do all of the work. He didn't want to interact with people.
Yep.
He just wanted to be in front of his computer doing his art.
Yep.
So it was a great thing. We started getting a lot of business in there, and then we would build websites for people who expected to become overnight millionaires. And then we explained to them that you have to market your website. You have to market your business online and offline.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up turning into a marketing company as well.
Exactly what you said you wanted to do.
Yes.
You wanted to do marketing.
Yes, you're right. So, we're making enough money, and we had a bunch of people doing side hustle work for us.
Mm-hmm.
We charged $50 an hour. I got 25.
Now, what year was this?
Around 2000.
Wow,
So
so $50 an hour is a
Yeah,
lot. That's still good
legit
money now. That's
dude, that was legit money.
Yeah, that was a lot of money.
Side hustle. I don't know that taxes were a big thing back then, but
Yeah.
got paid. So this was always supposed to be a side hustle for everybody. Excuse me, everybody. I didn't want anybody to quit their job because I didn't want the burden of having to support people full time. Right?
That's a tough burden to have, man.
So all of a sudden, this guy that I made my partner, who did most of the work, told me he quit his job, and he had young kids at home, had a family to support. So I thought, okay, awesome, man. All the money that comes in, I'll just give to you because I've got a W-2. I just wanted to grow a company.
Yeah.
Right. The money didn't motivate me a whole lot. I found out.
Man, that's crazy. I just interviewed Nolly Williams, and same thing, entrepreneur. Guys, you want to be an entrepreneur, you don't care about the money, right?
And quite honestly, if you set out on an adventure for money, it's not going to work.
You're going to stop at a certain point.
Yeah.
You're going to make it, and you're going to, so.
I don't know anyone that's been super successful and their initial intention was to do something solely for money.
Yep.
Yeah. Good point.
You got to have a mission that's much deeper than that.
Yeah.
The mission has to be, in other words, guys, we was talking about is the goal is to retire my parents, or the goal, now it takes money to do that, or the goal is to have freedom, right? So what was your goal?
I thought it was money. I really did.
Yeah, but the underlying thing that money was going to do was what?
Give me freedom, but I didn't think it through. Initially, I wanted to build a big company, right? And I thought having that company would give me the freedom. and then I could sell the company, retire, do whatever. I think the goal was, in my mind, retire.
Yep.
So,
Did you put a date, or did you just have an idea?
No, man. Listen, this was before there was all these videos on YouTube.
This was before they had calendars.
This is before Nate Barger was up there teaching people. No, man. No, I made every mistake you can imagine. So here's another big mistake I made. My partner quit his job, and I'm giving him all the money that's coming in. And I'm like, we're making enough money. I'm going to quit my job too. So one night we're out celebrating a friend's birthday, and I just decide I'm going to quit my job tomorrow. And my friends dismiss me. They're like, you're not doing anything. And sure as hell, I stayed out till about 2, 3 in the morning. I didn't show up to work till noon in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts. And don't do this. This is a dumb idea. And
can you tell us what company you were working for when you did that?
Yeah, it was TriHealth here in town.
Okay, hey, if you were his working with him, does anybody have a picture, man?
Well, no, I'll tell you the story. So I walk up the stairs, and this is February, shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, right? Just an idiot. So
you were hungover.
Oh, I had a giant water bottle because I was so hungover, and I'm walking up the stairs to go to work, and people just their jaws dropped when they looked at me. And I walk into my boss's office, and I said, "Hey, can we talk?" He looks at me. He's like, "Yeah, I think we better." Closes his blind so nobody could see how I was dressed. And I said, "I have to give you my 2-week notice." And he said, "Can I talk you out of it?" And I said, "No, my mind's made up." Long story short, I ended up walking out of there with a promotion, a raise, and an assistant, so to speak. That was the offer they put on the table. And then I went home and thought about it. Why am I killing myself? I'm working 40, 50 hours in my W-2. Every available minute beyond that, I'm waking up early, staying up late. I'm working on the side hustle. And I thought I was doing it for the money, and the money didn't motivate me. So I ended up walking away from that company, gave it to my partner, and he's still making money off of it to this day.
Wow.
So I went back and did the W-2 thing, right? And for me, it was nice having my free time back. And it wasn't long until I started another side hustle. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, a sports supplement company. And we ended up we called it AmazonSupplements.com and got sued by Amazon. But this was before Amazon was a behemoth.
Did they win?
Well,
you just kind of gave in.
I didn't know what to do. We got a cease and desist, and we had to turn over the entire company and IP to Amazon. I did some case law research. There was a guy who started a company called AmazonBooks.com, and he was out of South Africa, multimillionaire. He fought Amazon and lost. So I'm thinking, I'm a 25-year-old kid. There's no chance I have. So I asked their attorneys if I can have 6 months to wind the company down. There's nothing to wind down. I just wanted 6 months to make as much profit as I could. So
crank it up, baby.
Listen, man, we
gotta lever up.
I know. We worked so hard to get to where we were, and it just sucked. So
did they give you the 6 months?
Yeah, they were good, but they sent us a reminder on probably month 5 that, hey, you got a month left. So
you should have said, our revenue's up. Do you want to buy us?
Oh, what's funny, Nate, is Amazon didn't even sell sports supplements back then. After we turned everything over, they started selling sports supplements.
You think we could sue them now?
Yeah, we could try.
Jeff
we'll get
Bezos,
your
we're coming for you, baby.
We'll get your legal team on it. So yeah, man, always had a side hustle. I failed a lot. I tried to start a publishing company, and I just had bad partners.
You never failed, brother.
Yeah,
the only people that fail, they give up.
I failed forward.
Yes.
Learn lessons.
You basically, and look, man, going to college, people don't look as a failure, right? But if you go to college and ultimately you end up somewhere that you don't want to be, and you wasted 4 years of your time, and you spent all this money, that's not really a failure because you got stuff out of it, right?
It's not a failure because you should have had a good time while you were there.
Yes. Not to go off subject, but we were going to buy this place in Old Miss, and we went down and we were driving a comp set. And we went to the back, and man, there were these girls walking around, and it was this beach in the back of this community, and there's garage doors that open up, and you walk in there, and there's arcade games, and I'm thinking, this is why they're going to college. and I took a video, and I told my son, this is why you have to go to college. It's like spring break every day there, brother.
That's all it is, man.
They had a 50-foot screen outside where you could watch the games. I was like, blows me away.
Yeah, and you're paying for it.
Yeah. I told my son, you don't need to go to college. You can just go down here and live, and I'll pay for your room and board, and you can network, because that's really the good thing about college, right?
You're right.
Is the networking.
Yeah, you get to know yourself a little bit, learn some life lessons, learn about people.
But if that's not a failure, then why do we look at starting a business venture that we learn a great deal of experience and maybe lose money, but maybe make money as a failure?
I think people that are going to hate on you or give you a hard time are worried that you'll fail or worried that you'll be very successful.
So it's either their projection, if they love you, it's their fear, right? And they project their fear on you. But a lot of times it's I ain't gonna say envious, but they're like, man, I wish I could do that. But since I can't, I'm going to put self-doubt on him because I don't think he can do it. But really, they want you to do it.
Yeah.
Some of them are haters.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, human nature wants everyone to be successful as them, but not more so.
Not more so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want everybody at your level, but man, when they start surpassing you.
And you gotta have people around you to drive you. You know what Mike called and told me this week?
What's that?
Saturday morning. He called me. He said, Nate, man, we're just not living up to our potential. Right. And for anybody else, most people think like you're crushing it, but we don't
record
feel
some of these calls,
brother. We don't feel like that. We feel like, man, we are not where we need to be, man. And Mike's down there. He's, with this guy that did the Black Panther movie, and they just gave him $500 million to shoot movies. And the other guys got $600 million to go buy hotels with, and $600 million, but he's going to leverage that. So he's probably going to buy $2.4 billion. Right. And so if you're only comparing yourself to people that aren't doing as good as you, there's no growth there.
Yeah. It's amazing how you're a product of your environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, funny thing is, Nate, on your Facebook group, there was a post where somebody said, hey, does anybody really believe that if you have the deal, the money will come? Everybody chimes in. And this was early on. Everyone's like, yeah, that's all BS. Only people with money say that. Not true.
Yep.
And man, we all know if you have the deal, the money will come.
If you have the money
or the network.
Yeah, the money means nothing. People said if I had money doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're a consumer.
Yeah.
So let me give you some money. You're gonna go consume with it, right? Until you learn something different. All you were taught your whole life was to be a consumer. You watch Ken pull up in the Corvette and he gets Barbie, right? So at a young age, we want to be like Ken. So we start living paycheck to paycheck, trying to get this Corvette, trying to get this mansion. Well, they don't tell you is Ken is living paycheck to paycheck, right? And then he got Barbie. Now they miserable. Now they getting a divorce. Yeah. And that's what Americans are taught, man. And so for you, your culture is different. Like they think outside the box a lot of times, man. And they help each other. But in America, we've got away from that. But you have always, man, and I just admire you for this, brother. You have helped so many people, and I don't know if you know how many people you've helped, but, you're always giving back, man. And so you started a mastermind. Your mastermind was so cheap, I thought it was like Black Friday or something. I thought we were in a recession. Like you had recession pricing, and I know what a mastermind's worth, man.
Yeah. So that's the funnest thing that I do. It's the most rewarding part of my day.
But it can be a drain because of the commitment.
It's a huge time commitment.
Yes.
But honestly,
does that get in the way? Does your wife, is she okay with that?
It's a struggle because when the mastermind ended, we kept going, right? It's a perpetual mastermind. I told these people, you'll always have access to me, and our 6-month commitment ended. But they were still learning. I was still learning. I was still seeing them grow. So we kept doing it. So it's perpetual now. And my wife comes down one night and she's like, I thought you wrapped this up. I'm like, it's never going to be wrapped up.
She knows what she married though.
Yeah.
She knows that your heart
Yeah. So she doesn't give me a hard time.
No, I know. It's my wife's the same way, and
Yeah.
it takes that because sometimes, man, you're spending. It's you want to see these people succeed so bad,
Yeah.
and I think you need your wife has to know that, and she has to know like that's your heart.
And I think she sees or maybe hears some of the successes of the people in the group that it makes it worth it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So-
But you got to find that balance, man.
I know.
You have to. You have to find that balance.
I'm
brother.
getting better and better.
But let's talk about that because I got to find a balance in my life. I spend a lot of time trying to answer people's questions, try to do everything I can, try to look at it. But it's just not, man. You get so many people and it's just not even, so then you got to train the people to help out.
Yeah, so that's always been a struggle for me, right? And I'm not a good person to talk to about this because I would still rather work than sleep, right?
Yeah.
And it was a conversation we had about hiring people to do what you don't want to do,
Yes.
or what you're not good at doing.
Yes.
And I'll never forget, and I've told this story to people where I asked you, I'm like, Nate, in a given day, what are tasks that you should offload but you don't? You sat and thought about it for a second, and you're like, nothing. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, listen, what about your expense reports? He was like, no, I got accountants that do that. I'm like, what about this? No, I don't do that. I've got people to do that. And it blew me away that you get to tailor your day. You get to tailor your day the way that you want, whereas everybody else is kind of a slave to the tasks that they have at hand.
Yeah, but you know what?
What?
They don't see the 18 to 20-hour days that you put in. They don't see the waking up at 6 a.m, getting home at 8 p.m, coming in, working for 4 more hours, falling asleep. Like I used to have my kid, my 1-year-old kid, Caden, he would come in there and he would fall asleep in our bed sometimes because that was the only time I'm seeing him.
Yeah.
They don't see the sacrifice. All they see is the reward. And unless you're willing to give that sacrifice, and I told one of my things, I said, look, we're going to accomplish what takes most people 5 years. We're going to do it in 6 months. And they said, how are we going to do it? I said, we're going to put a 5-year schedule together. We're going to cram it in 6 months. And we literally did that. And we had 7-8 years worth of growth in 6 months because we were moving that fast. But that was the sacrifice. That was the weekends. That was the giving up. And then I did that for a little while. And then I went bankrupt. And I was like, now I had to work even harder. But I put a goal in place, right? And you talk about failure, right? And so I never really failed. I just had a lot of opportunities to learn. But I must have had 25 companies that failed and I didn't make any money. And I just kept trying and trying. All I knew how to do was sell weed and make money. And it was like, I kept reverting back to that because everything else I did was either, I'm delusional at the time. I'm like, I had a company that was making me $100,000 a year passive. And I felt like that ain't worth my time, because I still had to be involved a little bit. But I'm selling weed and I'm making, $250,000 every trip, which literally 4 days, 5 days. So when you're making, and I'm in my 20s, right? And so when you talk about failing and you're starting these multiple businesses, it's not till later on in life that you realize I wasn't really failing. I was just getting really good at business.
Yeah, a lot of lessons learned. Nate, to your point about those years that you put all the hours into, yeah, you're right. People don't see that, right? So I've been doing this full time for over 10 years, and every week is a lot of hours. There's days that you just don't sleep, right?
Yep.
But I'm learning a lot of these lessons much later in the game than I should have. So if I had a mastermind, or if I had you or people like you, had I reached out for help years earlier, I could have saved a lot of heartache over the years.
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, people don't put any emphasis on getting, a lot of people, they don't understand paying to get in a mastermind. They think, oh, that's a ripoff. But then they'll go spend $100,000 in 4 years of their time on college. And your mastermind, you're going to show somebody how they can become a millionaire in 5 years, right? No doubt.
You could change your life with one deal.
One deal.
Right.
Yesterday, and I tell people, like, life is good now, but I used to feel like giving up all the time. It's hard being an entrepreneur, man. But yesterday, I was just telling Matt, I checked my email. I got a check for $145,000. Didn't even know I was selling that property. I knew it was under contract, but I didn't go to sign the documents to sell it. And I just got an email from one of my investors saying, he got 70 something grand. He had no money in. We had already buried this deal. We bought it in 2020. We buried it. He got all his money back and he got a check for 70 something $1,000. And he was like, oh, what happened? Did we sell this property? And I was like, we must have. And then I looked through my emails and saw I got a distribution for 145 grand. And I was like, that was cool.
Nate, so I got to ask you a question. We talked earlier about people being comfortable and that doesn't motivate you. You're obviously comfortable. Why are you still so motivated?
Because I came up poor. I watched so many people struggle. I watched my father struggle, and I finally made it, and I cracked the code to success. And I realized how you can make massive amount of money. And I still see people struggle. And in that struggle, I see myself. I see my father. I see my aunts. I see my uncles. I see typical America. Like everybody from outside America, they can come over here and be successful, right? Because their mind, I ran into a guy, I was staying down at Key Biscayne Ritz back last November. And I seen this guy pull up in a Lamborghini and I'm talking to him and I'm like, man, that's, awesome car. I got a Lamborghini. I got to, tell him. And then we're talking and he's an immigrant. And I said, man, so, what do you do? And he's like, I do construction. And I said, man, how'd you get started in that? He said, well, I came to America 2 years ago from Cuba. And I said, so you did construction back home? He said, yeah. And I was like, talking to the guy. And I realized that he said, I came over and I was a carpenter. He was a carpenter 2 years ago. And within 30, 60 days, he went out and he started his own company. And it was like, I did 20 million last year. And I was like, wait a minute. Did you have any money? He was like, no, I just started getting contracts and start hiring guys and start doing it. And I was like, what? And he said, yes. He said, the only thing that I felt was keeping me from being rich was I wasn't in America. He said, I always thought that if I just got to America, I'd be rich. So that's the perception of people, a lot of people's mind outside of America. But since we grew up in America and all we see is people struggle, we believe that that's what America is. And that's why a lot of immigrants can come over here and they crush it, because in their country, doesn't matter how hard you work, you don't necessarily get the benefits of that. And so for, immigrants, a lot of people, they stick together. We talk about the Patels, right? And you come over here and you work minimum wage for 4 or 5 years in a hotel, and then they put you on and you get your own hotel.
Yeah.
We don't do that in America. So if you're in America, you truly had an opportunity. We just somehow, somewhere, through commercialism, corporation, whatever, we lost that. We lost the mindset that we can be wealthy. And so I want to reach those people. And I want to let them people know that, look, that does exist in you. But you got to get out here and you got to find your why. So there are 54 million millionaires in the world. 22 millionaires. 54 million. 54
okay.
million
Got
millionaires
Got it.
in the world. 22 million of those people were in the United States. Think about that, man. How many households are there? There's 180 million households. That's 1 out of 8, 1 out of 9 households, millionaires. But being a millionaire, you're still broke. People think that being a millionaire, if you have $1 million when you retire at 65, let's say when you retire, 20 years from now, you're 65, you're counting, you're saying, man, I really hope I don't live past 78 because I'm going to run out of money. So think about it. You need a lot of money. And then you're talking about leaving kids money. So my passion went from, I'm good, my kids are good, my grandkids are good, my great-grandkids, I'm setting up that now. But it came, what can I really do that's going to fulfill me? And you asked me what drives me. I had a guy come up and he was crying and he started hugging on me and he was crying and he told me I saved his life. And I didn't realize at the time, but this was a contractor that I had talked to work for me. And I didn't know, I just knew he was going through a lot. And I just talked to him. I took out 15 minutes. You know how you go around jobs, you're just talking to people. And he couldn't believe that I spent 15 minutes with him. And I didn't even know, I just normal person, just like Nate, everybody else. Yeah, Nate. The guy told me that he had already made up in his mind he was going to go kill himself that night. But after having that talk, and then I realized, whoa, that's a gift. If you can say words to somebody and have that much influence over him. See, his wife had left him. She ran off with the 2 kids. You know, he was going bankrupt. He didn't see any reason to live anymore. The pain was too much. And so I felt like, wow. And I asked God, I said, man, if I have that much power just in words, how can I reach other people and let them know that you can succeed? You can make it. Like, I've been there. I've been bankrupt. I've been to prison. I've been through all that, everything. And it's people like you and like me. And we realize that real estate's great because nobody judges you. They don't care about your past. And we can be a little bit of an oddball. And I don't fit in. I want to wear Hawaiian shirts. And I want to wear shorts in February. Nobody cares in real estate. But when you go to corporate America, they're all looking at you and talking about you at lunch, right?
Yeah. I got to ask you, if you take somebody with the worst mindset ever, let's say they grew up in poverty, everyone around them was in poverty, they never saw anybody make it, and they think, yeah, that's all great, but it's not for me. It's not in the cards for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in my future. How do you get through to somebody like that who really believes that they're just destined to not get ahead at all?
Well, I think we interviewed Jeff Murdoff last night, which is in the academy, and he had that mindset. He said he was one of the most pessimistic person before he joined my academy. He was like, man, everything this guy, he's a liar. Where he researched, he pulled up my criminal record. He said I went to prison, you know. Then he researched and seen I went bankrupt. Then he researched where I live at and saw I'm living in this big house. And he was like, whoa. And then so he had that mindset. And he was like, he became a millionaire from January of this year to now.
Wow.
He joined the academy last August, right? He became a millionaire in 7 months, and he learned just strategic financing, right? And he said, this is what he said when we were on the podcast last or on the live last night. He said, my wife is still, he said she still has a scarcity mindset. And he said she's over there cleaning that house that I did right now. He said she's cleaning, I hope she's not watching this, but he said she's cleaning the house. And then so I think that they have to realize what their why is. You know, it has to be greater than you. Because a lot of times we won't do things for ourselves. You have to let them know, listen, if you don't change your mindset, you're going to let your kids inherit that. And then they're going to let their kids inherit that. So the buck has to stop here. It has to be greater than you.
That's the key. It's got to be greater than you.
Yes.
Because you can talk yourself out of, no, I'm good.
No, I'm good, man. I ain't worried about it. It ain't going to affect nobody but me. No, It's going to affect your kids. You're going to be dead and gone, and your kids are still going to be suffering because of the selfish decisions that you are making today.
Yeah.
You are making a conscious effort to stay poor and to keep your kids poor. So that's what you got to tell them.
Man. Yeah.
You are making if you are in America, and I'm telling you this because once you learn about money, you have to almost sabotage yourself to stay poor.
You're right.
You have to say, every week I get my check, I'm going to spend 100% of it. You have to do that every week. Because if not, you say, I'm going to only spend 90%. I'm going to start saving 10%. And I don't care if you're buying crypto. I don't care if you're buying NFTs. I don't care if you're buying collectibles. I don't care if you're putting in the stock market, you're buying real estate. Eventually, you will become a millionaire. Now, a lot of those investments may go by the wayside, but some of them, boom, they take off and you become wealthy. That's the way, because see, the dollar's just being diminished. They're printing more of it, right? And as they print more of it, the things that you bought go up in value, right? And that's really all that real estate does. Has real estate really went up in value, or has the dollar just went down in value?
All the above.
All the above, right? And so the government wants to keep wage increase at 3% a year. Why? Because they figured out this algorithm that they can continue to borrow more money. Now, they need these bumps in inflation, because what will happen, these bumps in inflation, their GDP will go from 22 trillion to 33 trillion. And as they do that, the government looks at that as their income. They say, hey, man, if we got $22 trillion GDP, we're able to get 30% of that to us, which is $6.6 trillion a year in our operating budget, right? But if we let inflation run a little bit and we get a $33 trillion GDP, not by producing more goods and services, but by making everything cost more through inflation, now we get 30% of that, which is 9.9 trillion. Now we can continue to be reckless for another, kick the can down the road another 15, 20 years before we ultimately go bankrupt.
Yes, and then also paying down the national debt becomes easier.
You're not really ever paying it down,
if
but
they chose to.
You're paying down with worthless dollars. With, you're borrowing money today. Let's say 8% inflation, your $100,000 next year only has $92,000 in borrowing power. They're borrowing the money at 1 or 2% and 8% inflation. So they're getting paid 6% to borrow the money.
Yeah. So it makes it easier.
It makes it a lot easier.
Right.
And, so that's what teaching Americans at. They don't teach you that in school. They don't teach you about a balance sheet. They don't teach you any of this. They want you to go work for corporate America and be really good at one thing. So that when you get really good at that one thing and you think about becoming an entrepreneur, you can't do that, man. This is all we taught you how to do, right?
Listen, yeah, I was in the corporate world, and that's exactly the case.
And that's how America runs.
Yeah.
They say America runs off Duncan. Nah, man, America runs off keeping people so just right there into that one little niche, man.
Yeah.
We want to see people lever up in life. So you talked about, what drives me is seeing people lever up. That's why I came out with a program, the Academy. And the reason I cost 72X, because I can show you how to 72X your money. No lie. You start with 30 grand times 72X in 5 years. You got over $2 million, man.
Yeah.
That's using the burst strategy over and over and over. And listen, it's not something that I'm dreaming up. We got an actual spreadsheet to show you that.
I've seen it. I've seen it from people in the Academy. So what do you do to lever up every day? You have any daily habits or routines or who have you relied on for masterminds or mentors when you were coming up?
Man, really, it was just me reading and my partner, Mike. It's us pushing each other to the limit and us not fitting in. So the people that probably were accepted by the normal people, and, me, I was worse than Mike because, I'm like this drug dealer with 4 felons. And Mike's like, man, such and such wants me to come work for them, and they're going to do that. I said, man, you don't want to do that, man. And I was like, nah, man, they're going to pimp you out. And then so me and Mike really pushed each other, right? And for 2 years, man, we were trying to raise capital. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. And then so finally we meet this guy and he gives us $2 million. He says, I'm going to give you guys $2 million, right? What do you think me and Mike did?
I know what I would have done at that age.
What we did was we walked out in the parking lot and he's like, what do you think about that, Nate? I was like, man, I don't want his money. He's like, I don't either. Why? Because he wanted to do it his way. And we ultimately, just hard-headed, we wanted to do it our way. It was harder, but ultimately we got to control the final destination and the goal.
How important is it to have a partner?
Depends on who you are. Some people are loners. For me, like I said, it's not about me. If it was just about me, I would have quit a long time ago. So for me, I thrive off of partners. I thrive off of having good partners. I thrive off of working with people. I thrive off of seeing other people become successful. So ultimately, outside of my family, I found with Mike, man, I just love him like a brother. And it's just great to have somebody like that. And somebody that, we don't have a lot of overlap. The things that I'm really good at, I'm really good at everything. Mike's really good at everything. But the stuff that I hate doing, he does. I don't like sitting at the desk and doing all that stuff and the calls and invest. I don't like doing all that. I don't like dealing with the attorneys. Now, I like digging in, dealing with them when they're not being aggressive enough and going in and reading the code, reading the law and saying, look, you need to do this. And that's what I thrive off of, pushing them farther. But I don't thrive off of the day-to-day pound and salt management,
Yeah. So when I started working with partners, it's helped level up a lot, right? Because I was the one person shop doing everything and not having great people to bounce ideas off of,
Yep.
not having people to rely on. And then you find those people that are complementary to you.
Yes.
They do the things you're either not great
They're just
at.
being done while you're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And they're done, and all of a sudden you're at a closing.
Yeah.
And that's what yesterday I get a check because I got partners. Because we brought partners in on them deals. So you know what? This is what our strength is. We joint ventured with something that's their strength. Hey, you do what you're good at, we'll do what we're good at. And then, it makes life easier. You're able to scale easier. And you're able to create a team around you that can absorb and take on so much more if you want to.
So after all this success and all these years of experience, do you still find people that you go up to and ask them for advice or, hey man, teach me how to do that? Like, do you still look for pseudo mentors? or people that are
I
experts?
really, you know, what I do is I'll go on YouTube and I'll watch a lot of videos about economics. I go look at statistics. I do a lot of research myself. I don't really have anybody that I, you know, like that's a mentor. I do have some people that I want to join, but the problem is time.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things I wake up every morning and do, I'll get me a coffee. I'll go sit in a hot tub for 30, 40 minutes. I'll read my emails. I'll look at my reports from the night before. And then I'll look at things and make sure everything looks good. If not, I'll send off, you know, a couple questions, couple emails. Then I'll come in here and I'll start watching my YouTube videos for 30 minutes to an hour, figure out where the economy's going, figure out, you know, what we can do. Then, you know, that's my day. Then I start getting started. Sometimes I'll check in, send a message out. Hey, how's the construction things going? Critical path method. Where we at? Are we hitting these things on these days on bigger projects that I'm running? And figure out what we can do to be more efficient and find deals. Like one of the things on one of our hotels that we just did, it was a first for us. It was, you know, our bid came back at $430,000 for furniture. We're doing a 145 room Courtyard Marriott. We don't necessarily have to replace the furniture. So, but we don't want to own a property that doesn't look top notch. So the furniture is like older brown and we're doing all the grays, and it wasn't part of the PIP, which is the property improvement plan, which you have to do, which is mandated by the brands. Mike went to China and we end up getting the furniture built for less than half of that, $198,000. So it's those things working within a company. And now that was one hotel, but now every hotel we do in the future, we have those resources. We know how that works. We know how to do that. We know how you have to get a model, then you have to put it in a room, then you have to get the brand to come out and approve it and look at it. So it's growing the things that are important for the company that are going to bring to the bottom line, the things that are going to help you scale, the things that are going to help you buy these distressed assets because you know how to add the value to them.
And that's one of the things you scaled very quickly in your business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the things that took me a lot of struggle to figure out. I'm still learning. But share how you scaled so quickly.
Let go of the things that other people can do. Understand that people are not going to do what you can do as good as you can do it. And just accept that they're going to give you even if they're great, they're going to give you 80% of what you could do. You can't hire yous. Like people like you, people like me, you can't hire them. Because why? You've already said it. I'm not doing this for the money.
Right.
And if you're not doing it for the money, you're doing it and you're doing it to such a different level that you can't hire those type of people. Because me and you, we don't have, when you become an entrepreneur, you don't have a clock in or a clock out time. You don't have a certain amount of times that you're dedicated to doing something. Your dedication is the goal, right? Until I reach this goal, I'm not stopping. I'm a bulldozer. You know, America just wasn't raised that way. They were raised to more balance your life out. Now, with that being said, I found a way to kind of hit the steps, go up your 13 steps, get to a landing, take some time off, recoup, spend time with family. So you got to find a way to balance that, you know, but in the very beginning, I'm chasing a goal. And the problem is that most people will let the goal becomes too hard. So they let the circumstances change their goal. Never change your goal unless you're making it bigger. That's the problem with people, is that they control the goal. I don't control the goal. I set the goal and then I work backwards and start hitting it. That's it. This is the goal. We're going to hit it. A lot of people, oh, it's hard. Well, did you expect it to be easy? You know, and I tell people, if you want the easy way out, go get a W-2 and go work for somebody else for 40 years and hope that they don't let you go in a recession and make them wealthy. Right. And then you tell your kids when they need 20, 30,000 for that wedding, or when they can't afford their down payment on their house, sorry, I don't have it. I said, that's what you tell them. Because why? The circumstance changed your goal. And in America, we're so used to everything being comfortable that you have to push yourself to be uncomfortable. And so for years, Mike would call me and I would call him and I would say, are you uncomfortable today? And if he wasn't uncomfortable or I wasn't, we'd say, look, we got to push it. We got to get uncomfortable. Most people don't want to deal with that. Like, why? We're already millionaires. But I'm pushing myself to be uncomfortable. And Mike said, man, I'm going to give away so much money that it hurts me. That's what he said. I said, why you want to do that? He said, I'm just trying to stretch my brain. Right?
That's incredible.
That's the mindset.
Yeah.
He said, I want to give away so much money this year that it hurts me. Why? Because he was like, I have to believe that I can do so much more.
Yeah, that is
Start to
incredible.
stretch your brain, man. I don't know how much money he gave away that year, but he said, I'm going to make it hurt, man. I'm just going to start giving away stuff to people.
Yeah, that is a great mindset. So touching back on hiring people, you gave me a hard time about this a long time ago. Not a hard time. You motivated me. And I was apprehensive about hiring an assistant, even though I was inundated with work, because maybe it came from insecurity. Not that they couldn't do as good a job or whatever. It was more somebody's going to come in and see this chaos, and they're just going to be like, I can't work in this environment, leave. Um, or I wouldn't be able to keep them busy enough, right? What I thought was overwhelming maybe isn't, and it's just my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But just doing it, hiring that person, absolute game changer, right? And like you said earlier in a different conversation, once you hire somebody to work with you, it's like a drug.
Yeah.
It's like, wow,
Yep.
I can hire a human and
Human capital.
Yeah. And in Nate's own words, so I pay the human this much and they make me this much in return. I'm going to start a human farm.
Yeah, you start a human farm. and so that's the thing, is that you realize, for me, my first hiree, my really first hiree, I didn't have the money. So I went and I flipped the property, and I took that property, the money I flipped, and I set $40,000 aside. And I said, I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to hire this person to come in and help do property management for my properties that I was because I didn't have enough properties to bring in enough revenue to pay this person. So I had to subsidize that, and I put $40,000 out of a flip, where a lot of people would have got a flip and did whatever. And so I set it aside, and I realized like that person made me $80,000. I was like, whoa, you can just hire people and you can make money if you can guide them and direct them, but you have to create the right type of culture for people. People aren't necessarily going to come work for you for money. Because they go work anywhere for money now. We have a labor shortage. You have to make it somewhere where they want to work. You have to make it enjoyable. So it's not always looking at your goals. It's what are their goals too? If their goal is they want to spend time with family, or they want to do this and that, or they want to be creative, give them the opportunity to do what they want, and understand where their weaknesses are and take them away so that they can be a happier person. But really it comes down to analyzing your time. And so when I started analyzing my time and where I knew we were going over the next 5 years, I knew that I had to make that our time was worth $54,800 an hour. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to work an 8-hour shift and I'm bringing home 400 something grand. But that means that if I stay focused on this and I reach my goal in 5 years, that the amount of hundreds of millions of dollars that we're going to make, and you divide that by your working hours, which is $2,200 a year, that's 54,800 times 11,000 hours. That's what you're going to make over 5 years. It's a lot of money. Remember what I said? You start with the goal, then you work backwards. So we know we got to reach that goal to hit that. Even if we fall short and only get 50% of that, it's still 25,000 an hour, 26,000 an hour. So why am I out here doing a job that's a $50 an hour job, or that's a $100 an hour job, or that's a $500 an hour job? I can't get there if I can't learn to delegate this.
How early in the game did you figure that out?
I figured that out when I first started, because I knew I had to make $500 a day to pay for the 2 people in my office and for me to take home $200 a day. So I knew that I had to make $500 a day. And I said, well, I wanted to grow that. So I kept growing it. And then I remember when I got to $672 an hour. And then I was like, that was the goal. And then I ended up making 900 something an hour. And I was like, wow, this really works. That was when I was first started come out of bankruptcy and buying multifamily. And I still got the paperwork. And it was $674, $672 or $674 an hour. And then I rounded it after the year and I realized we made 900 something an hour. That was an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, people who went to Harvard aren't making that much, right? And so I realized that I had to continue to progress and continue to keep delegating and growing. And if I didn't, then I was stagnant at 900 an hour and I wanted to make more, which that was an insane amount of money for me at the time. And so I just kept growing and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And then Mike said, hey, Nate, I want to buy these hotels. And I was like, man, that's foolish. But I was like, let me run some numbers. And I called him back. And about maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes, I ran an analysis. I was like, holy crap. I was like, dude, yes. And I told him the number because I'm a numbers guy. And I was like, yeah, dude, it totally makes sense, man. So right now, you know, you continue to push it, but now we had to decide, are we going to put a fund together to buy apartments or hotels? And we ran the numbers. And to buy $1 billion worth of apartments or $1 billion worth of hotels and take on institutional financing, the apartments aren't really worth it to us right now. They're not going to be a game changer for us. It's not, because of the amount of equity split, and you're overpaying for apartments right now.
Right.
Hotels are different. They're more like what you do in a warehouse space. You can make huge margins on them because we can buy the ones that are distressed at the end of their life, get a new flag from Hilton, Marriott, IHG, Hyatt, whoever, and we can come in and we can do those renovations for 50 cents on a dollar. So we can buy the ones that everybody else can't buy, but since we're vertically integrated on the construction side and we're bringing in all our materials over in bulk and containers, a lot of it, we can crush it. So why would I want to go do all these apartments? They're more work. I do hotels and make a lot more money, not just for the fund, but for us.
What's next for you?
Well, we want to do this fund right now. I think we want to go get a $100 million fund and go leverage that out and go buy hotels with that. I got a place that I'd really like to buy that's got 60 boat docks and a hotel. It's on it's over in the Caribbean on an island. I really like to get that done because that's just like, I don't know if it's ego, but it's a great deal. We can make a lot of money, but it's like, that'd be cool to own one of them, you know, because why? Because it can fit 120, 140 foot boats. You know, it's like, that's cool. And it's deep water access. So it's in the Bahamas. So for me, that would be cool. But really, man, my goal, and I know this sounds crazy, but you got to start with a crazy goal, is to help 10 million people become millionaires, learning the BRRRR strategy. Now, keep in mind, we only have 22 million millionaires in the United States. But I truly believe that we can reach 10 million people. And that's my real goal. Now, I can't do it alone, but, you know, we've had a handful of students the first year become millionaires. And now these students are giving back and helping create millionaires. So it becomes a snowball effect. It's not me, but it's since I was able to help this person and this person, now these people are helping these people. And it's starting to, you know, I would say next year we'll start to really see a huge impact.
Yeah.
So I said that I wanted 2,025 people to become millionaires by 2025 out of this program. We will exceed that. We will exceed that. That's to me, that's what I want, because ultimately, I don't want people to have to struggle with money, man. I want them to lever up their life, you know, because the stress, the anxiety, the belief that you can't have it, the belief that the only way you can do it is to go work this corporate job for 30 or 40 years and struggle and sacrifice, and, you know, your kids have to go without and you can't do this vacation. See, typical American mind is that you have to save more, right? No, you have to make more.
Yeah,
you have to get you a side hustle.
You can't save your way to wealth.
You can't save your way to wealth. And the reason I tell people this, man, 100%, easiest way. Let's say you're making, let's say that you're making $200,000 a year. You're an attorney. After tax, you bring home 110, right? After taxes and insurance and everything, bring around 110. Let's say 100. Let's say you put 30% of your money aside. 30% of your money for 30 years is only $900,000. That ain't no money. It's not no money.
Yeah.
You can go do one deal and make $900,000, can't you?
Of course.
And how many hours, how much time do you got in that deal?
I've done it.
100, 200, 300 hours?
No. Less than 50 hours.
Less than 50 hours.
In a great deal, you can make a tremendous amount of money.
So let's say you make $1 million, right? And you got 50 hours tied up in it. And let's say you got a partner. So you made $500,000 in 50 hours.
But there's 6 months of searching to find that deal.
Then you don't have 50 hours.
You're right.
You have 1,000 hours,
Correct.
right?
Okay.
So you have 1,000 hours to make $1 million. But what's the math? That's $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Right? But you probably found more than that one deal. You
Correct.
found multiple.
Yeah.
So you're making several $1,000s an hour, right? And then, but the belief in the United States is that, man, you just have to work harder and you have to save your money. Rich people don't save money. How many rich people do you know that save money? They invest money.
Yeah. There's Over the years, there's been plenty of times where I had no money in the bank
Mm-hmm.
because it's all out there being deployed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, now you probably say, hey, my comfort zone is I want to keep, you know, 100,000 or $250,000 or whatever, right? But you think Jeff Bezos has a lot of cash on hand? He tries not to.
Yeah, you would think not.
Yeah, and that's what rich people know, that people with, you know, they teach, I'm gonna say, you know, middle class, lower middle class, even upper middle class, to save your money. Save her for what?
Yeah. You know,
Money's diminishing every day.
yeah, back to the mastermind, the coaching. I made fun of a buddy of mine because he would spend over $100,000 a year on his masterminds. And I'm like, man, listen, give me the money and I'll teach you what you need to know. And really, I gave him a hard time. And then I saw a lot of high performance people around me, all either had coaches or masterminds or
Mm-hmm.
something. So I started hiring a couple coaches, right? One was a mindset coach, one was a business coach. And it's been a game changer. So for anybody on the fence, or excuse me, doesn't believe that you should pay for this education because it's all out there on YouTube for free, listen, pay for it. Join a group. You could have watched YouTube videos for the last 20 years
Yeah,
and
not
taken action.
no action. Yep.
Why haven't you done it?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. That's why I tell people, look, if you think your mindset is where it needs to be, then you're already a multimillionaire. If you're not a multimillionaire, then your mindset still has work.
Right.
And like Mike told me when he came from this conference this week, he said, Nate, he was like, man, we need to go get this institutional money. We raise money. We do well. We raise private capital, but we haven't raised 100 million in one swoop. Right. So he said, look, man, there are people out here and their job is to give away money. He said they'll get fired if they don't give the money away. And I thought about it and I said, man, that's what I taught my academy students, that the bank has to give you money. Why am I not listening to my own advice? Sometimes you just have to hear it different, right? And so for somebody right now that I'm talking to that's struggling and thinks that their doom is just, I'm going to work the rest of my life. You know, how can they reach out to you to lever up, man? What do you have? How can you help them? Where would they go to apply to see if they're a good fit for your mastermind?
So I have a non-residential commercial mastermind. So we do every asset class besides multifamily. So restaurants, medical, office, retail, warehouse, industrial. Mixed use is the only residential we'll do. But you just email me, find me on Facebook, find me on Bigger Pockets, LinkedIn, Ash Patel, Cincinnati, or my email address is Ash, A-S-H, B as in boy, Patel, P-A-T-E-L, @gmail.com. But it's only for experienced real estate people.
Mm-hmm.
If you are new to the game, you don't join my program, go through Nate's program. And then if you still want to do commercial, we can talk. But
yeah, you guys got to get your basics because his is too far advanced. So if you guys are wanting, you know, I got same thing with Mike. You know, Mike teaches hotels, teaches people how to do hotels. And so, look, man, you guys are both amazing teachers, man. If I had time,
likewise,
I'd come and take.
Likewise.
Nah, I mean, it's our passion.
Yeah.
You know, it becomes your passion because you're like, hold on, man, why don't these people know this?
Yeah. You know, what's funny? It's more fun for me seeing other people get ahead and teaching this class than it is searching for deals. Before, the highlight of my day was like window shopping, looking for real estate deals, right?
Yeah.
And now, like, that's fallen by the wayside. It's doing this and seeing other people get ahead.
It's much more rewarding.
Yeah.
It's
way
more rewarding for me to see somebody go become a millionaire.
Yeah.
That I was able to help than for me to go make another 10 or 20 million dollars. That's irrelevant. It's not going to change my life. But that million that they made is going to change their great grandkids' life. And that is what is important when you leave this earth.
Yeah.
When you're sitting there on your deathbed, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about, man, remember that time I had a 100-foot yacht and I bought a 140-foot yacht? Man, you're not thinking about that. You know, you're not thinking about that. You're not thinking, remember that time we were able to fly a private jet and it cost you $20,000? You're not thinking about that, man. You're thinking about who, you know, number one, that's why we bought this house, because we wanted to entertain. And I was like, look, man, I want to entertain. I want to have great parties at our house. I want our friends, the thing that you're on your deathbed. What are you going to remember? The good times you had with your friends, right?
100%. Yeah.
And the people that you were able to give knowledge to that you had, untraditional, like didn't go to college, different, and help change their life. That's what it's about, man.
Yeah. All the
And
impacts.
that's why I know exactly what you're talking about, because I feel the same way. And the more people I talk to, the more people I meet where that's really their feeling of success is not their life and their balance sheet, but the amount of people that they were able to help change their balance sheet.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. Game changer.
Game changer.
Brother, thank you, man.
So thank you, man. When we get back together, man, we're about to start having our Monday night football parties, man.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do Thursday night instead of Monday. Maybe, I don't know.
We got to get you and the family out at the lake.
Let's do it.
Say when. We're there every weekend.
Okay, and then
We're there Thursday night through Monday.
winter, I got a lot of Academy of students, man, that I'd love for you to meet, man.
Love to meet them.
They have a lot of them have boats, and they live in warm places. And they invite me to fish, and they're like, yeah. And so I'm like, man, can I bring a few of my buddies, man? So I got a whole group in San Diego, and they go out of Cabo. I think it's Cabo, Mexico. They got a boat down there, and they're like, man, you want to go get some yellowfin tuna? You want to go get some yellowfin
Hell yeah,
tuna?
we are.
We're going to cut it up and eat it
Yeah,
on the boat,
man.
ain't we, baby?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then your conference is in September.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You're going to speak, right? You're going to be
love to.
You're going to speak. You're going to, Mike, you're going to do
I'll do the emceeing.
the MC and speak.
I'll do them both.
Bro, it's going to be amazing time,
Yeah.
man. Like,
I'll start practicing now.
yeah, I got something that I'm going to tell you about when we get off here. I'm going to tell you, so.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, man.
Always a good time, brother.
Guys,
Thank you.
Patel, man, listen, man, if you guys are experienced and you're looking to go to the next level and you want to lever up, man, get at him. We're gonna put his link below. He has a mastermind. He's gonna be and look, you got to go through a vetting process. So if you don't have any experience, get into my academy. But if you do and you're ready to go to the next level, you want to buy 10, 20, 50, 100 million, billion, whatever, he can help you get there.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. See you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Lever Up Your Life. If you could do me a huge favor and go lever up my reviews, leave me a 5-star review. I appreciate it. And if you guys want to keep the conversation going, reach out to me on Nate.Barger on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And get in our free Facebook group. We got over 200,000 members. BRRRR Invest. We'll see you in the next episode.